Welcome to the ELKSHAPE podcast. We are live in studio today. Tyler Denham from the ELKSHAPE Gear channel is with me today. We're going to talk about backpacks today. We'll cut right to it. We are going to be running an initial Ascent in 2025, and I kind of hate switching partners because it's not a good look for them or for me. So I guess we'll just get in kind of like the awkward conversation of like, Cavaro has been a great partner. I have nothing bad to say about them. A couple reasons why I decided to move on to initial Ascent. The first one is it's your fault. So you showed up to elk camp, and one of our partners is Black Ovis. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know this, but they sent you an initial scent pack.
Correct.
The 5K.
5K, yep.
And you roll up into camp, and you're like, hey, I'm just going to test this on this hunt. Well, when you rolled up, I had tagged out, right? So we went and recovered the bull the following morning after the rainstorm, mm-hmm. and I kind of watched you load the meat the way you did, and I was like, wow, he's getting the meat in there a lot faster. It's tighter to the frame. You know, not really paying much attention, but enough to be like, that looks like maybe a better system. And then I believe I had 3 or 4 days to just be your photographer, videographer, elk caller, moral support, guide, and Sherpa. And I was there I basically owe you a pack out or two. And I was like, all right, Tyler, and our buddy Josh Crawford was there, and I just told Josh, I'm like, Josh, I'm not helping you. Like, I need to help Tyler. Like, I owe him, you're on your own. And so we were able to hunt for, was it 4 days together? 3?
I think it was 4 days.
I know which day did we do like the death hike? Was that day 1?
Yeah, that was day 1 after we packed out your bowl.
Okay. And so that was the day where you ran this pack. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I got to know this pack is because you're kind of funny. And what am I getting to? You are a sweater.
Yes.
And I think your sweat is probably salty too. So a lot of water is leaving Tyler's body. And I'll give you a crystal clear example. It's morning. It's cold. I'm wearing a puffy. Mm-hmm. We're hiking. It's Idaho, so we're going up this, and I feel great. I'm like, oh, good. I'm finally getting warm. And you gotta stop and peel layers all the time.
Yep. Depending on what we're doing, I'm always either putting layers on or taking layers off, and trying to manage the sweat because I do sweat a lot, and so I try to manage that with layering systems.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, if we're getting ready to go up a steep hill, I'm taking layers off. I'll start maybe a little bit cold so I don't sweat so much by the time I get up there. And then if we're stopping to glass or slowing down for calling or whatever, I throw a layer on so I keep my body heat, stay warm, and I'm not shivering when opportunity comes.
So you were in and out of this pack all the time. And the first thing that caught my attention was the U-shaped zipper, mm-hmm. and how easy it was to access compared to the packs that I was kind of running. After 3 or 4 days, I kind of just observed all the ins and outs of this pack. And Tyler's a great guy to hunt with, man, because you pack a stove no matter what, which means you pack coffee. You also packed an extra coffee cup. And so you made me coffee midday every day as a little morale pick me up, a little more energy.
I love having a cup of coffee midday on the mountain. It's it's one of the things, especially if it's cold and more for rifle season, but when it's cold and nasty and you're up there on the hillside and you're freezing and you can make a cup of coffee and drink a cup of coffee, it helps you stay out there longer, which then for me leads to more opportunities. And so I've been able to stay out all day where maybe in the past without that, for me anyway, I'll head back to the truck and try a different spot or whatever, get warmed up so that I can go back out. But that just kind of allows me or helps me stay out in the field longer.
That helps me be in a way better mood when I get coffee. So we actually, we came so close to getting you an elk those just couple of days. We're hunting really open country, and it was pretty apparent that it was mainly an ambush type location where if you can figure out the elk's behavior, travel routes, especially in transition when they go from bedding to feeding or vice versa, and can kind of come in at an angle where they don't get your wind, and get pretty lucky. You add all those ingredients in, you might get a shot opportunity.
Right.
Where we tried to manufacture some luck, like I can think after coffee, we had these elk put in their bedroom. We tiptoed into their bedroom, middle of the day, and we came in at their level. These are the most common terms you'll hear, but essentially we came in at their contour.
Yep.
So the wind's going up, and we got the bull to answer. We pinpointed him, and we snuck in as close as we can. We pushed you out in front. We did calf calls first. We didn't cow call, we just kept with the calf calls. Then we introduced a few mews, and then the bull finally answered when we were with under 100 yards, and then I answered back with probably a mimic, like his same energy, his same vibe. He didn't get out of his bed. He just stayed there, and then we ended up pulling calves.
We had 2 calves come within 30 yards.
And eventually the whole herd got up, but they wouldn't leave that timber, and we couldn't go any closer, and we pushed them out of there. And that was probably the best opportunity we had together, was when the elk are cornered, they're bedded, the cows are comfortable, the bull's gonna have to probably do something.
Right.
We had all those things going for us, and we were in a position where if he wanted to come take a look, he's gotta step out.
Yeah.
He didn't. The other really good opportunity that I thought we had together was the day we pushed in the evening, and I got this bull to answer us, and we essentially had glassed him from several miles away in the morning, and it was so far away we had to go all the way back to camp, drive around and come in.
Yep.
And we didn't know exactly where he bedded,
right.
but we ended up getting him to sound off when we thought we were close. And then I screwed up as the caller. I made a sound thinking I needed to pinpoint him one more time, and I said the right thing, and he left all his cows and came right to us, and I didn't get you guys further away from me. And so he came right in to what I would say is like, that is the perfect scenario for you to shoot a bull, and I didn't have you really in good position to shoot.
No, but I think it was more so that between when you last called, we moved up, and we didn't get, like, he had already moved down, and so we couldn't get any closer without spooking him. And
right.
I don't know exactly what happened, but he had come down, we got close, but not where we wanted to be, and then he took off back up the hill.
Yeah, we missed our window.
Yeah.
And he was a very handsome bull, and it's pretty hard to call in a herd bull, and we called in a herd bull. And then honestly, we wasted our time trying to like push him up the mountain and challenge him, and he eventually just got tired of us and took his cows.
Yep.
And then I had one other spot in that area. I'd hunted there before, and so I was like, dude, there's this one other spot. We got to go do a quick location. We were running out of daylight.
Yes.
And it was a haul. We busted over, tipped over the edge, and it was kind of windy, and I set out just a quick location bugle, got an answer right in the bottom, and it sounded like a dinosaur, and we were like, let's go. And we started going down that ridge, and we left our camera guy in the dust. I was like, I don't care. We're gonna get in front of this bull. We did not beat him to the pinch point. And I'd hunted that spot, and I could tell that they had already gotten up from bedding. They're in the bottom of the drainage, and they're kind of just staying with water, and they're feeding their way down. And then they'll usually they'll go dog leg up and button hook up to kind of the best groceries. So they're coming down, we're coming down, and I think we're literally running.
We were moving as fast as we could without breaking something.
We finally got down to where this drainage and this ridge tie in, and they beat us there. And I'm like, I think I might have saw the bull before you. And I'm like, Tyler, stop. And we look, and it's like a 306 point in a beautiful little micro meadow in the water. And he's got and he can hear all the
he
ruckus.
heard us coming down. We weren't being quiet because we didn't have the time. It was like, at that point, we had maybe 20 minutes of daylight left.
Yeah, maybe.
And so when you said that, I saw him, and so I bumped over into the trees and went to the tree's end and came out, and he was still 103, 105 yards.
Why didn't you send it? I'm joking. Yeah, so he's at 103, we're out of cover, and he's heard the sounds, and he heard a bugle up there, he's expecting to see elk, and then behind him is his cows.
Yep. And they're going away from us.
And so I just decided to to try to bugle so that he would hold his ground and you could maybe try to slip in or something. But man, he ended up 180 and go back to his herd, and then they went up. I will say that was interesting is that he tolerated another 6-point that's probably 280, 290. And a 5x5, I think, or a 4x5 with his cows, and they were just one happy herd. It was bizarre. And then that was probably, and then the last day I called that herd bull. Man, I was calling herd bulls in. That never happens. We called that herd bull in the morning, and he came under. Josh Crawford didn't get a shot, and then he circled, came up, got by you didn't get a shot, and then he came all the way up to me, and of course I would have had a shot because I didn't have a bow. And then we pushed that bull later on that day and eventually got aggressive and tried to call him again. And it's tough calling open country elk where their topography is so difficult to guess where the hang-up spot is. It's never obvious.
Right.
Honestly, you and I haven't hunted much together in shooter-caller scenario, and most of my calling success is in thick country, honestly, not open country. Like when I hunt there, I don't even bring a bugle tube. Back to the backpacks, that whole 4 days, I was really impressed with this backpack, but it really wasn't on my radar. I'm very, very happy with Kufaru. And then I guess the next biggest thing was like Aaron Snyder sends me a text that he's leaving Kufaru. And like he's the whole reason I even tried a Kufaru pack. And so I was really bummed out, and it didn't sound like he was leaving Kufaru like it was like a real good, amicable. I don't want to get into the details because I don't know them, and it's really none of my business. But I was bummed to hear that because that was kind of like my main dude.
Right.
And so when that happened, I was like, okay, I don't know. We'll see how things go. I hadn't planned on changing. One thing I will say about my backpack history is I started out, like the first company to ever send me a backpack was Badlands. And my buddy Isaac worked there, and he sent me every Badland pack they ever made. And that's what I ran. And I thought they were the best thing ever. And then eventually I got hip to like, there's better options out there. I tried Eberly stock. I ran a Mystery Ranch, the Pentler, a couple other ones I can't remember. I tried them all. And then Steve came out with EXO, and I was like, oh, he's from Boise. I want to try that pack. So I kind of ran the EXO for a couple years in a row, and I really liked it. It was pretty simple design. But I eventually kind of went away from it when they came out with, and I don't know whatever happened to it. It might have been their K2 or K3, but the frame kind of broke. And they had to do a big recall. And when that happened, I was kind of like, man, I want to try Kufaru. And Aaron was over there, so I reached out to Aaron. I was like, hey, man, I really want to give you guys a shot. And just kind of fell in love with it. And ran great packs. Great people, made in America, love it. And meanwhile, initial Ascent, I've known Dennis since I met him at Ryan Lamper's summit in maybe 2018. And I ran into him at TAX, and he's just always been a good dude. Stayed in touch with him. And when I was filming you for 4 days, I took about 600 photos of you, and I was like, his company could probably use these. So I ended up emailing Dennis and saying, hey man, here's a Dropbox link, here's some photos, feel free to use them if you like them. If you think they suck, that's cool too, whatever. And he said, hey man, we'd love for you guys to come down to Boise and film for your ELKSHAPE gear channel. And I was like, you know what, that's cool, we can do that. So we flew down to Boise in December, and my intention was just to film. And you were in front of the camera. And that went pretty well. That video dropped on the ELKSHAPE gear channel, first of the year. But I guess maybe you should tell the story, because you had told me the pack fit when you were packing out my elk didn't fit right. And you thought maybe it was a flaw in the design, and we brought that up with the guys, and they kind of opened our eyes to, you should tell that part.
So we were sitting there talking to them, and they wanted to know what I liked, what I didn't like, and I told them that like the frame fit well, and it was pretty comfortable for day use and like overnight stuff. But when I packed heavy weight, it wasn't quite as comfortable as I would like it to be. And Dennis kind of like eyed me and was like, I think you probably didn't have it fit right. And so I was like, okay, well, I thought I did everything, and then he showed me that you can adjust. They have about 2 inches of adjustment on their lumbar, and he adjusted that and made all the difference in the world. And then they put...
Hey guys, we're going to interrupt the pod, tell you about a little training tip. I work with GoRuck. They make some really cool stuff, apparel, but my favorite items are their rucksack, the Rucker 2.0, and their weight vest. Push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges are already hard. If you want to make them more difficult and you're on a budget for a home gym, just pick up a weight vest. You've just made your workouts better. Also, I typically don't ruck with my hunting pack unless I'm in the mountains actually scouting. But when I go on rucks right around the place here, I just throw that rucker on. I have two 20-pound plates in it. I can get that thing soaked in sweat. And I'm not putting dumbbells or heavy plates in my hunting pack. So I have a dedicated rucksack for my training bouts, and it works out awesome. They also make sandbags. I recommend at least a 60-pound sandbag to simulate what an elk quarter would be, and you should be able to manhandle that sandbag. So head over to GoRuck, use the discount code ELKHUNT, save yourself some loot, check out their sandbags, check out their rucksacks, and check out their weight vest. Hey guys, we interrupt this podcast to let you know about one of our partners, MagView Gear. This is also made in America and has a lifetime warranty. It is a simplified system to put a simple magnet on the back of your phone or phone case. And that is it. No special cases. The magnet attaches to the S1 or the B1. S is for spotter, B is for binoculars. You can digiscope with either options. You can get the entire thing as a kit. You can use all three lenses. It also has an app that you can download for free if you need help getting everything centered and switching from lens to lens. MagView Gear, proudly made in America. Again, lifetime warranty. Discount code ELKSHAPE takes 10% off. Back to the pod.
A bunch of weight on me. And I was like, they're like, all right, how much is that? I was like, probably about 100 pounds. So I was about 50% off. It was about 145, 150 pounds. Super comfortable with just that little tweak in the fitment of it. And so then I came home and I adjusted my pack that I had at home, went out for a day hunt, and it's way better now than it was the whole season. And it was comfortable enough that like I didn't want to change things out. Like I didn't want to unpack and pack into a different bag just to do like your pack out or whatever. And I was still like just getting to know it and testing it. And so even when I went hunting with my brother in Montana for the rifle season, same thing. He got a bull down. I was like, I should change, but I don't really want to. And so I packed his bull out, and it was comfortable enough, but not as good as when they adjusted it to fit me perfectly. And then it just made all the difference in the world. And I think they're super comfortable. I really love the bag configuration and how organized I can be with it, and how I can open it up, get whatever I need, and close it up and keep everything exactly where I want it, cinch it down, and nothing moves. And then it's so easy to go from your day mode or your hunting mode to packing mode that it's so easy to do. I'll do it every time. Mm-hmm. Versus some of the other packs that are kind of cumbersome, and you got a lot of buckles to move around and things to detach and reattach, and it's just not as convenient. So then those packs, a lot of times I'll just shove the meat in the bag itself.
That's what I've been doing.
Go from there, just because of how inconvenient it is to change everything. Where this one is more convenient to undo it, put it on the meat shelf, and pack it out like that. I'll probably do that every time.
Camera duties was what I went down to Boise at Initial Sense HQ. I'm like, I'm going to help film this, produce this. I kind of knew what I wanted to film. And when we were done filming, they were like, hey, now the cameras are off. Why don't you try one of our packs? Remember that? And I was like, okay, cool. And Dennis was like, I already got one set aside for you. I think it's going to be perfect. And Dennis and I are very similar size guys. So he puts it on there. Boom, get it all set up. I'm like, oh, that feels great. That's good. He's like, guess how much weight's in there? And I'm like, none? The pack? And he's like, no, there's 40 pounds in there right now. People are going to call bullshit on that, but I'm not kidding. Like, I literally was like, there's 40 pounds in this? And he's like, hold on. And so then Joe and Dennis each grabbed those 50-pound quarters.
Oh, yeah.
The sandbags, and they put them on these hooks right here. So they just kind of boom, right there, and boom, there. So we have 50, 50, and then it was 45 in the pack, and they're like, you have 145 pounds on you right now, and you're standing completely upright. You're not hunched over. I'm like, what kind of voodoo magic is going on here? And he's like, it's physics. And I was just really blown away, because if you remember the bull I killed in 2023, September 30th, we killed him in an avalanche chute. There was mountain goats below us. It was really steep, and we hiked in there to get all the meat out. And that was a very miserable pack out for me, because I couldn't keep up with you. And I remember I would always be looking for the next downfall to just sit and get this weight off my hips, my back. And the problem is, that system I was running is I had to put the meat in the bag. There wasn't a great setup for a meat shelf. And it's a pain in the dick to pull the bag away and run the meat shelf system. It is on a Kufaro, it just is. So I put everything in the bag, and no matter what, that weight's not up against my spine. And I have to lean over. I cannot be upright. And when they did that, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense to me. So I guess the main reason why I'm gonna run Initial Ascent in 2025 is I feel like I've tried every backpack out there, including the Stone Glacier, I've tried everything out there. And I feel like Joe and Dennis are onto something with the way that they took them forever to make their frame. Yes. So many renditions, so much science and technology is into it. None of this pack is made in China. I really like that. And it's not that it's not made overseas, but it's not made in China.
Their frame is made in Boise.
Yep.
And then all their sewing is done overseas, but they avoided China completely. They just didn't want to deal with China at all. So
which I like.
It is the bag is sewn overseas. Unfortunately, with American sewing, if you look at 90% of outdoor apparel, outdoor gear, it's all sewn overseas, because they just have the infrastructure built to do that. And this bag, if you were to sew this bag in the US, it would be easily double the price, if not triple the price, to make here. People aren't going to pay that much for the bag. And it's because of all of the little, when you sew something in the US, every stitch costs extra money. And so when you put that U-shaped zipper, that costs extra money. You put every little thing costs extra money. That's why they looked into sewing in the US, and they decided that for them it wasn't feasible to do, and that's why they had to have it sewn overseas. But I've put this thing through the paces, and to me, the bag still looks brand new, and I used it all fall.
Yeah, and you packed out a lot of animals with it. The other thing that I like about this pack is the price.
Yeah.
I feel bad recommending a backpack that costs anywhere between $800 to, I'm not saying that just gets you a frame and a bag. Then you got to buy this accessory, buy that. By the time it's said and done, what I was running would run most guys between $1,200 and $1,500. Man, that's really, really steep. And
it is steep.
You get what you pay for. But I was impressed with their price point, and I was impressed what you were getting for the price point. And I felt like they were willing to give me a code to give my audience a break as well. And I had a code with the other company for like a month, and then they emailed me and said, hey, we're not doing this code anymore. And I was really bummed out.
Yeah.
Because I like getting the audience hey, give them a little break. So we do have a code now that's going to be active all year long. It is ELKSHAPE. Save you a little bit on these packs, and they're already priced right. I want to spend the rest of our time today just kind of highlighting the pack, doing an overall. We'll do some really deep dives over on the ELKSHAPE Gear channel. Check those out. But let's do it here too, in case this is the only place you're going to see it. So we're both going to run the 5Ks. They make an 8K, which can be condensed down for day hunting. They make a 5K, which is pretty much going to cover you for like a backpack hunt on a week-long trip.
Yep.
And then they even make a 3K, which I probably could see myself using if I knew I was doing dedicated day hunts.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Realistically, I'm probably gonna run the pannier system with the lid only as a day pack and utilize the 5K bag as my spike camp bag for a lot of the style of hunting that I do. We have the same setup, so let's go ahead and break it down. So they have 3 color options, 3 colorway. You got your coyote, your OD green or olive, and then your gray. I think the gray is probably their most popular one. I can't remember, but there's a lot of different accessories that you can do with bows, rifles. Let's go ahead and break down real quick the way I think most of you elk hunters need to run this pack system if you're interested in upgrading backpacks this year. So let's go ahead and look at this pack real quick.
The 5K pack is on here with the frame. To detach the pack from the frame, pretty simple. Loosen this up. I'm gonna unbuckle it from the front. So that comes out of the way. You've got 2 compression straps on either side. Unbuckle those. And the peg, pretty simple, just slides up and over these ears. And there you're off. And I've already got the pannier system hooked into the frame here.
This is definitely what I want people to get when they buy the system, is to make sure you include this. And here's why. When you kill an elk, the last thing you want to do is like try to get some meat out. Mm-hmm. And then you get back to the truck and you like get all your gear out, maybe your backpack spike, or maybe just day hunting. I would like you to take a hindquarter out on your first trip when you're fresh. Mm-hmm. Sure. And with this pack system, you might be able to do 2 hindquarters or a hindquarter shoulder. Like, to just bite off a big chunk on that first trip, you will have the most energy on that first trip.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
Yep.
And when you have this stays out of the way, and when it's time, this is what you want to run. The other thing I'm going to point out is with this pannier system, this is going to act as my spike camp bag. So when I am hiking in to eliminate 3 miles in, 3 miles out, that adds up. So let's say I've got a spot where there's multiple herds, and there's a safe place to camp, where my wind's not going to get in their nostrils, but I'm shaving 6 miles round trip.
Yeah.
I'm going to hike in. I'm going to take this pack like you just did off.
Yep.
Right there.
You can completely take this off, just like that. If that's your spike camp bag, you set it down at camp.
Then I'm probably going to use some sort of dry bag that they make and put right here with all sorts of goodies, food, water, stash your puffy, your water, whatever you want. I personally don't run a hydration bladder, but some people do. Good news, you can run the lid and you can see that it'll fit right over those ears. The bladder, you can put your water bladder in the lid with your tubing if that's you. I run a Nalgene, so there would be, you don't have the, oh, you do have the Nalgene. I'm gonna run like a 48 ounce Nalgene right here. I'm probably gonna keep whatever, like a backup release, whatever in here, and then you'll have another pocket there.
You can put another pocket on this side if you want. I have the large, and then they're standard on here right now.
But I'm basically gonna day hunt out of this sucker. Yep. And when I get one killed, I'm loading this thing up right out the gates.
Yep.
And it's super simple to have this system as your day hunting system and still come back to spike camp. You can also still run it all as one system as well, which there'll be time and a place for that, which is super handy. But these little guys right here were initially designed for a rifle sling.
Yep.
And then my boy Dave Baronio, who, look him up on Instagram. He's one of the best elk hunters, and he's a guide over there in northern Utah. He packs out elk, deer for about 12 weeks straight, maybe longer. So literally, I don't know anyone who's packed out more animals than him, and his job as a guide is to get that client's meat off the mountain back to wherever. Mm-hmm. You can hook, if you have the right game bags, what are the game bags we ran in Idaho?
Those are forged.
Forged.
Yeah.
Is it Isaiah Joyner? The kid from Hunting Full came up with them.
Okay.
And they click instead of a cinch bag. And that's what I'm gonna run next year. I gotta get a hold of him and get more. But you can click and rest your loose meat on one side. So say you have a half a neck, a back strap, tender, whatever, maybe some rib meat on both sides. And then you can stash like that elk quarter, probably a rear. And then you can put your bag up against it or run it like that. You're just gonna be able to haul more meat, and you're never gonna be bent over, hunched over. And most of you guys that are like seasoned, veteran, successful hunters know that I'm not telling any lies. When you put most of your weight on your back to pack out an animal, none of us are upright with perfect posture and double trekking poles. We're almost always having to be hunched over to get that weight where it needs to be. These guys figured out and cracked the code. I've never seen or felt something like this with that much weight. And so I think we're talking about more efficiency, efficacy when you're taking meat back to the truck. And I also think for someone like me, who probably has another elk hunt right around the corner in a different state, that I'm not gonna be smoked, like longevity wise. Or if I gotta like stop hunting and help you get your animal out, it's not gonna affect the rest of my hunt.
Right.
You know, so this system is pretty clever. We should show them the lid. There's a lot of room in this lid. That's why you can run such a tight system.
Yeah, I have just some random stuff in here, but this is a really big lid. It does have a key clip if you want to hook something in there.
I never use those, but yeah.
I never use them, but it is there. The cool things I do like about this, and I may still have it, is this little zipper pouch.
For your tags.
I put my tags in there.
Oh, nice.
And I still have them in there. And this barely fits, but it does fit.
That's a Kufaru wallet?
In there.
Yeah,
yep, it's
cool.
a Kufaru wallet. It does fit. The little plastic things would fit a little better. And then if you do want to run the bladder system on this, it's in their lid. You can slide in a low profile 2-liter bladder there. And then the hose comes out right in the middle. So then you can go to whichever shoulder is your preferred shoulder to have your tube, if that's what you run. Dan and I don't run that. We run the nalging bottle. I do.
You can put a big bladder, platypus bladder.
You could put a platypus bladder in there.
I'm probably gonna put one here with
Yeah.
the puffy.
Yep.
So I don't have to take layers on and off like you, but I damn sure have a puffy with me like August through the end of hunting season, because I can get cold.
You're hiking in a puffy.
Exactly. The other thing I want to say is like confusion when it comes to putting your bag on in the dark. They have this orange colorway right here that matches with an orange colorway right there.
Right there.
And with the 3K, 5K bag, it's only 2 clicks and you're on. So this middle section clicks here. And on the 8K bag, obviously because it's much taller, has more volume, you will connect this one to the bag. So this thing sits out of the way, and it's really cool to have a dedicated panniard forward to really, like with this system, you'll be able to suck the meat against the frame better than anyone else's system. I think this is like a must, not a should.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm disappointed I didn't use this year.
You didn't know.
I didn't know.
But you got schooled from the boys.
Got schooled. The other thing I want to say is that like that first day, like if you kill a bull and you get it down, the first day the meat is still like a big ball of jello. Even though it's on the, even if it's on the bone.
No, you have a good point
still
here.
a big ball of jello. And this thing will keep that from like shifting around while you're hiking. And that's like one of the things I really don't like about packing meat, fresh meat, is that it seems to always want to shift, and like as you're hiking you're constantly balancing it out, which you use more energy doing that, where I think this will keep everything tight and keep it from shifting back and forth so that you'll be more efficient. Even if you don't want to kill yourself and carry meat on the hooks, this is going to be a system that makes hauling meat way more comfortable.
A couple little details that most people don't care about, but I do. Unzip that pocket real quick. The pack I was running last year, I struggled to just do that. when it's on. Like it just was a pain in the butt to get the zipper open.
Basically have to do a two-hand.
Yeah, so one hand operation on both pockets. That kind of stuff matters to me. And then I want to go through the actual insides of that 5K. It'll be like the last thing we do on this video. Again, Tyler's got some deeper dives, and I'll have Dennis and Joe on the pod in person. I really want to get to you guys to get to know them. They're really good dudes. They're out of Boise. They've tested all this stuff in Idaho. It's just kind of an Idaho backpacking company, and that's kind of why I really want to support them. And I think, quite honestly, I just think it's a better system and it's a better price. Let's go through the insides of that bad boy.
All right, this pack, this is just the bag. I ran trekkie poles and my tripod on this side. It has a dedicated spotter
So like
slot here.
I would run probably my big spotter on like bear hunts where I need to see really far and you're sitting in an advantage all day.
Yep.
But when I'm elk hunting open country, I bring that smaller, that Vortex Razor Mini. And when I do that, then I can actually put the ASIAC tripod and that in this compartment, which is super nice. But if I do run the bigger spotter, I like an angled spotter. Do you prefer straight or angled?
Angled.
Yeah, so this is a great place to do that. Now, if you're backpack hunting, I've also taken advantage of these type of compartments to stuff extra socks, extra underwear. You can stuff the rain gear, pants, which I don't always pack, but I always have a rain jacket. I have the four-way stretch from, it's the Mission Flex from BPO. That thing packs, push down. A lot of packs don't have this. It's usually one or the other. This one kind of has both. You can see it's pretty generous and wide. What did you run in here?
The ASIAC for glassing, and then I carried a dedicated shooting tripod. And so I put the shooting tripod on this side, the ASIAC with that little spotter on this side, and that's how I ran it. It worked really well. The inside of this, you've got this front, it still has a U-shaped zipper, but it's got this same stretchy mesh. It's not really a mesh, but the stretchy material here.
Yeah.
In here, so you can shove a lot of stuff in here and it kind of expands with it. Basically, I run toiletries in there, and then like a lot of times I'll stuff either a puffy or whatever else right in there. The other thing I like we talked about, this giant U-shaped zipper. You undo the whole thing all the way. It completely folds out. I just have a big sleeping bag in here right now, but you can get to whatever you want in there, and then I like it to where I can pack my stuff in exactly where I want it, put the lid back on, tighten it all down, and nothing shifts. And then it also has in here, it has one more zipper, which helps me stay organized without having to have a bunch of pullouts.
Yeah.
And then I put in here anything I don't really want to lose, but I want to have quick access to, because you can just unzip the top, flip it down just a little bit.
Get right at it.
Just anything I need to get to really quick, like your binocular adapter for your tripod, that sort of stuff. So that's kind of
We'll take a peek here. Meat tarp.
So it does, I do wish it had a water bladder holder here to where I could put my collapsible platypus in there and it would stay, but they don't have that.
I think yet. They did listen to you.
I think they're gonna come out with
Tell me about the
new
snow collar now. Is it all the snow collars click in? I
So
think the 8K.
The 3K does not have a snow collar.
That's what it is.
It's just basically cut off here, and you have the U-shaped zipper. The snow collar, that's like, so if you were gonna do, if you had ultralight equipment, you could do a week-long trip out of here. If you're just doing a weekend and you need that extra space, you can run this all the way up. The lid expands to sit on top of it.
Yep.
It does have this little clip here to kind of keep the center in check. And then when you don't need that extra space, you just roll up the top and buckle it over on itself, kind of like a dry bag. And it I really like that. And that's the way I ran it most of the time when I was hunting. Just like that. And then you get to all your stuff through the used zipper.
I think that's pretty thorough. So guys, we want to hop on and do a quick pod, kind of break down what we're using for 2025. Comment below. Let us know what pack system you're going to run. What are you really confident in? Have you looked at these guys? Remember, we do have a code. It is ELKSHAPE. Take 5% off. Tyler got to test and vet this all fall long, and I kind of peeked over his shoulder, and then obviously we went to HQ. There is a video over at ELKSHAPE Gear YouTube channel, and I'll include a link where we actually go to HQ and see how everything's made and do some testing there, plus a full review after the fall that Tyler went through several packs. He's pretty unbiased, but I think we're going to go all in with Initial Scent in 2025. They have great people, great system, and great prices. Separation is in the preparation. We'll catch you on the next one. Hey guys, we're going to interrupt the pod today to bring you a little information about one of our new partners, Latitude Outdoors. I've been looking for a saddle partner for a long time, and I've been very picky. I finally found the one. Latitude, they're out of Michigan. They're just a bunch of regular blue-collar dudes who get after it for whitetail. And for me, I'm a huge whitetail guy. Some of you didn't know that. And I will be using these for out west whitetails in eastern Washington, North Idaho, western Montana, to name a few. But what you didn't know is that I'm going to be utilizing this for elk hunting as well, especially midday sits over wallows. Instead of taking a nap on the side of the mountain, I'm going to scurry up any tree I want at any pinch point, funnel, or wallow, and hopefully stack the odds in my favor when it comes to punching that out west elk tag. Same thing for spring bear over bait. A lot of times I've only had one tree stand set up for bears, and when the wind is wrong or the prevailing's off, I can't sit it. Now I can sit any tree at the bait that's appropriate for the current wind. And thermals and prevailing change a lot in the mountains, as you guys know. So getting elevated. Super lightweight climbing sticks, awesome platform, the Maverick saddle. Check out Latitude Outdoors.